Yeah.
Now that's the end of day 2, and I must say, or we must say, it's been a disappointing day of Test cricket as an Indian fan.
Yeah.
We talked about a possible score of 600 pre-match, nowhere
But
to be
we
found.
but we also warned against India possibly rolling
Yeah,
out very quickly, and that's
and that's
exactly how
exactly
it
what
panned out.
happened. I mean,
Yeah.
us and having a crumble down isn't new for us, but yeah, thank you guys for joining. First of all, it's 12 a.m. Yet you guys are here to see, and also it's gonna be a long live because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
DOF, Rakrius, Dhruv, thank you guys so much for joining us. Sanket, I know Shrikant's here. Shrikant was texting quite a bit. Vasu's here. Srivatsa, maybe Srishant. If you guys are joining in for the first time, hit that like button. He'll help us push this live to a lot more people, especially because it's a long live. We have a lot of things to talk about, positives for the day, negatives for the day, player of the day, moment of the day, possibly the
Yeah. Yeah.
last over, Harry Brooks, the no ball, and all of that.
A lot of
And
moments.
we also have few technical bits to talk about. So yeah, and we have a whole array of stats that you guys can know and then show it off to your friends and families around, knowing that you guys are cricket nerds. And so we have a lot to talk about. Vedank, Shrikant, hey boys, my shit takes will be with live always. Great. That's good to know. But yeah, we always appreciate you guys joining us, especially this late. Where again, oh, I forgot you're not wearing a white shirt.
Today I was wearing blue to support India. It
And
has
I'm wearing
backfired.
whites to support the red ball format. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. Like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're joining us for the first time, we do this every day of the test match, and we will do this for the entire test series, pre-match and post. So yes, village level fielding. Indeed, we will get into all of it. You know what? Let's just get into it. Let's talk about the scorecard.
All right. Firstly, looking at the scorecard, India skittled out for 471. I think Ashwin's going to sneeze, whatever. Fine. Yeah. India started overnight 359 for 3, came in the morning, batted really well in the first hour, getting to 412 for 3. But from there on, the way India got skittled out, losing 7 wickets for just 41 runs. That's what happened with India, 471. And then England, who we luckily managed to get 1 wicket towards the end, 1 or 2, I want to say, in the last session. But England still managing to get 209 for 3 at the close of day's play. Ollie Pope getting 100 when everyone was questioning his spot. Great 100 for him. But that's a summary of the scorecard itself.
Let's go to the positives for the day. We have quite a few bit of positives, but before we even get into that, let's talk about the pitch. The pitch played out almost exactly how we thought. During the day when it was sunny, and in the afternoon and the evening when it was sunny, it was a belter of a wicket. The pitch did start turning quite a bit. Bashir and even Jadeja, for the matter, got turn and bounce from a few patches. It wasn't consistent turn, but it was the kind of turn that Jadeja enjoys. It's the kind of pitch he should be doing well in. But did he do well in is something we will talk about. And then exactly when England were coming on to bat, there were showers, it was overcast, and the Indian bowlers were spicing it up. They got a lot of swing, they got a lot of seam, and we will get into the exact degrees of Bumrah getting swing as compared to the other Indian bowlers. So there is a couple of things to talk about, but the pitch played exactly how everyone thought it would on day 2. Belt off a wicket while the sun is out, and the bowlers getting a lot of assistance under the conditions that allow them to, which is overcast. But yeah, let's talk about the positives of the day. The first hour, no wickets fell. It's something we warned against. We didn't expect the second hour. But the first hour, yeah, we didn't lose any wickets. We have 53 for no loss, which means by the end of the first hour, we were 412 for 3. Looking out for a massive score, possibly 600 runs, which was actually talked about pre-match, but it didn't turn out to be. That was the only positive with the bat, but positives with the ball. Bumrah, of course, the lone warrior at this point. This, like Srikant said, he's doing the carrying job, and it's quite unfortunate. And again, we will get into a lot of things, but yeah, Bumrah taking 3 wickets, and Jadeja's ploy in the end. Sure, we do have a lot to talk about how Jadeja went about his bowling. But in the last couple of overs, when he employed the negative line, if you guys don't know what negative line is, when a left arm spinner, I mean any spinner, comes. How do you explain this? Okay, so Jadeja, for that matter, when a left arm spinner comes over the wicket to a right hander, trying to bowl at his pads between outside leg stump, middle and leg stump, and trying to spin the ball outside from the leg stump area. is basically what negative line is. And Jadeja doing that in the end, I thought was very, very clever, especially because the ball's turning for him. There were a few odd balls that was turning for him, and there was an opportunity. Of course, the ball was pitching down leg to Ollie Pope, but opportunities are created like this. And I was glad that Jadeja thought out of the box. I don't know if it was Jadeja or Shubman Gill or whoever, doesn't matter. I was just glad that there was a bit of out of the box thinking coming negative line. I thought that was very, very clever from Ravindra Jadeja, the bowler. Let's talk about in splits with the Brits, which is
which is basically all of the negatives, and there were a lot of negatives for India today. Talking solely about the batting point of view, I think beyond the fact that Gill and Pant started off the way they did in that first hour, from there on it was downhill. We lost 4 wickets before lunch, and then after lunch, it was never really going to be our day with the bat. But even in that, the way Karun Nair got out a loose shot. Now, Sanjay Manjrekar on comms was talking about this is how Karun Nair always plays. But that is not true. If you actually have seen Karun Nair bat, sure, there is not as much exaggerated feet movement as maybe some other players or as Shubman Gill was getting in the stride yesterday. But that was a nothing shot. Like he just hung his bat out. Uh, Also, he was off strike for quite some time. So could have been a couple of things, but he too got 0 of 4, just like Sai Sudarshan. So all of the debate on number 3 and number 6 just goes out the window. That's one thing. And then I think apart from that, a very important thing and something we'll also get to in the moments of the day. But Shubman Gill at that point, getting out the way he did was probably something he'll look back at and be a little disappointed, especially at where he was at that point. Bashir was doing well with the ball. He was getting it to turn a bit. And you could see that Gill was a little agitated.
like the sweep shot,
Yeah,
missing the sweep shot.
exactly. But that's the point where, and it's strange, right? Because when the other batters who were batting with Gill were agitated, Gill was able to tell them to like calm down or like take a breath. But when it came to his own batting, he wasn't able to do that, which got him finally caught at the boundary. And that's where really the collapse kind of started and the momentum shifted towards England. Apart from that, I think Shardul Thakur played a pedestrian shot to get out the way he did. That's something that could have totally been avoided, especially around that period. So just
Lunch.
yeah, just before lunch, basically. And yeah, that's the disappointing parts on the batting. Basically, everything that India did yesterday just got undone today after that first.
Let's get into the India's bowling, and there are a couple of things to talk about, right? So Siraj and Prasidh Krishna in the first spells were horrible, but I have a pickle with Siraj, and this was something we also spoke about in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Every time we criticize Siraj, especially on our lives or on our reels, we always got responses that hey, but his second and third spells were right. Like his second and third spells were fine, and he came back great. And that's what happened today. Like if you look at him objectively, his second and third spells were great, and that is great if you're a third bowler of the team. Except you're not. It's not your first or your fifth or your 10th test match. Siraj is experienced. Siraj's played all over the world at this point. He is your second strike bowler. He cannot have a bad first spell. He cannot have consistently bad first spells. And right, it could be a bad test match, but it's not the first time we're seeing Siraj having a bad first spell. And that is my pickle with him. Sure, Bumrah is your man. Bumrah will get wickets. At this point, Bumrah is the only one who will get wickets. So it's not even the fact that Bumrah is the strike bowler. Bumrah seems like the only bowler. Prasidh Krishna, right, you can give him a bit of a leeway because he's coming back into the squad. His first spell, of course, wasn't going to go well. I would have been shocked if it did. His second and third spell were all right. It was decent. It was good comeback, except Siraj and Prasidh Krishna, even in the second and third spells, they would bowl the odd short balls, nothing short balls that wouldn't climb up to the batter, give them easy singles or boundaries. But that's a whole other topic. I think the problem with Siraj here is he needs to understand that he is one of the main bowlers. He cannot be reckless. He cannot give those odd boundaries straying down the leg side in your first over. You cannot do that following up Bumrah. The fact that by the end of 3 overs, I think Siraj gave 19 runs. When the scoreboard said 24 runs, out of that, Siraj gave 19. And it wasn't as if the batters were getting outside edge for 4. It was just bad deliveries. And I think that is a main problem with Siraj of how he needs to start off well. He cannot settle into it because he's a strike bowler. He's the number 2 bowler. And then even Jadeja, he was a bit disappointing in the Border Gavaskar Trophy.
Yeah.
And
The odd short ball.
yeah, the odd short
Yeah.
ball, and he's doing that again for the man who's known to be very, very consistent. I think he would be disappointed with himself. And then yeah, even Prasidh Krishna, I think He did what he could,
Yeah.
but I feel like in the last couple of spells he was doing a lot better, and I just think he needs to be more consistent with that. And then I don't know. This is just me nitpicking. I just don't think it should have taken 39 overs for Shardul Thakur to
Shardul,
be introduced. I understand what
100%.
Shubman Gill was trying to do, shuffling his three fast bowlers very well, and then Jadeja somewhere in between. But it should not have taken 39 overs to introduce Shardul Thakur. And I think that's where Shubman Gill, the captain, can be criticized a little bit. I think he was proactive. I think he was trying whatever he could at that point. But then, yeah, 39 overs to introduce Shardul Thakur was too long of a drag. At that point, the ball wasn't doing much. The sun was outside. If Shardul Thakur needs to be effective, the ball needs to swing a little bit at least. And yeah, even when Shardul Thakur was introduced, he was bowling those odd short balls. We were talking off air about how difficult can it be as being one of the best teams in the world to be a little more consistent than you are right now. It seems like we have gone backwards in terms of all the fast bowling pool that we keep talking about. We only have Bumrah taking wickets, which is quite a disappointment. But yes, let's talk about, oh, what a great that is.
Moments of the day. But just before we go to the moments of the day, just one more negative I want to touch upon. Unfortunately, it's been a day of negatives. But the no balls
Oh,
that
and the
were
drop
balled
catches
and the
and the
drop
fielding.
catches, yeah,
I completely
all
missed that, by the way.
all over the place. Bumrah bowling 3 no balls in that final over
Yeah.
is not something we expect from Bumrah. It's pretty sad because he's the only one getting wickets. We could have had Harry Brook before the close of play. That would have put India in such a good position psychologically and also just in the match itself. But apart from that, even Thakur coming in, he's always had that problem with no balls. For him, now having enough experience and still coming in and doing that, these guys are playing for India. I don't think this is something that should be happening on such a regular basis. And the fielding today is something to talk about. There were a couple of drop catches. Sure, they weren't the easiest, but you expect to hold on to those. Jaddu's was pretty easy for
Yeah.
his standards, and Jaiswal usually catches that.
Yeah, I think
So,
Shrikant said that Jaiswal is a horror. Yeah, see, Jaiswal on slips is a negative since past years, which is not true at all. He
He's-
does drop catches, but the
Yeah.
percentage of catches that he takes is a lot higher.
yeah, plus he's taken some pretty good
Blinders.
catch. Okay, I don't know if you're saying slips or gully because he's usually at gully.
True.
Yeah, which is where he dropped the catch today as well.
Two
So
catches, yeah.
that's the negatives. But even beyond that, I think there was some very average work in the ground fielding itself. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with the outfield itself because it is patchy in parts. And we did see England also struggling a bit. But I don't know, man, how big of an excuse that can be.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, moving from there to moments of the day, obviously a couple of moments are the drop catches themselves because that could have completely changed the complexion of the game. But even beyond that, I think the first moment and probably where the momentum shifted towards England was Shoaib Bashir's spell. Now, he didn't get a lot of wickets, but him putting that pressure on Pant to some extent, but more importantly, getting Gill agitated and then Gill finally getting caught at the boundary. I think that was the first big point because from there is where the collapse sort of started for the Indian batting lineup. Apart from that, Karun's wicket, I think once that wicket fell, there was no more solidity to come, and Jaddu, sure, like he had no partners left to bat with by the time he was out. And yeah, so I think Karun's wicket was important, especially Karun with all of his experience in the domestic format coming in. There's an expectation on you. It's obviously it's nerve wracking for him. Again, he also came in at a very bad time, similar to Sai Sudarshan coming in just before lunch. But that was a nothing shot. You don't expect that from a Karun Nair. What else? That those were the two moments of the day. The other thing was Pope when he was on 34 survived an LBW shout against Mohammad Siraj, which was umpire's call. Another day, and it could have gone in India's favor. And I feel like this scorecard could have very easily been England at around 200 for 6. But as it goes, as cricket goes, we are 200 and England's 209 for 3.
That's the moment of the day. Credit for the bid is the player of the day for us, and it has to be Jasprit Bumrah, by far the only bowler to take wickets for the Indian team. The highest wicket taker as an Asian bowler in Sena countries. He got all the wickets. Every time he was introduced, it almost seemed like he was going to get a wicket, and he did in the last over too, except he bowled those no balls. So as much as I do want to appreciate him, like Praatibh said, there are a few critical things that he needs to take care of. As the senior man, you can't be bowling 3 no balls in the same over. Doesn't matter if you're Jasprit Bumrah. You cannot be doing that regardless of who you are. You will be criticized for that. And so 3 no balls in that over, especially in that wicket, we were talking about how it's coming. Like the number of no balls the Indian bowlers were bowling. it's just there will be one delivery where we do get a crucial wicket and it will be a no ball, and that's exactly what happened in the last over. And something interesting is to watch out for actually is that Jasprit Bumrah hasn't brought the nib, not even a nib backer, his in swing delivery to a left hander. He hasn't bowled the in swinger to Ben Duckett as of yet. He hasn't tried that ploy, so that is something to watch out for through the series. But yeah, Jasprit Bumrah, I thought did extremely well throughout. Him bowling, I mean, he was the best bowler of the lot. He's been the best bowler by a mile. It's just that at times he doesn't get that supporting partner. But even then, he doesn't need it because every time he comes on to bat, every time he comes on to bowl, he gets a wicket and he got Root out for the 10th time this time. So, incredible stuff. Quick wit in Brit is stat play. An
Stat
array
work.
of stats that you see in front of you.
Yeah, a lot of stats in front of you all. But whoever's just joining in, we do this every day and definitely like the stream, push it out to more people. The stats are there for you to read. Some really interesting ones today. In fact, Shubman Gill getting out on exactly 147 was the first time it happened in Tests for India since Virat Kohli, which
Since Virat Kohli took over the captain's full-time captaincy
Yeah.
in 2014, so think about,
Exactly.
imagine that.
it's just nice when you have these kind of coins
Yeah.
pan out. And then Rishabh Pant getting his century has skyrocketed his position in
Yeah.
terms of what centuries have come for India for
Wicket
wicketkeeper
keepers, yeah.
batters. He now becomes the wicketkeeper batter for India
Highest
with the highest
centuries,
centuries, got-
surpassing MS Dhoni.
surpassing MS Dhoni at
Yeah.
and apart
All
from
of
that,
which has come in India except for Pant. One has come in Australia, 3 has come in England.
yeah, that's crazy. Pant getting 3 centuries in England, which is the most by any wicketkeeper in England in the history.
Overseas wicket keeper.
Overseas wicketkeeper, yeah. I mean, at the rate he's going, he'll probably cross English wicketkeepers. I think the record for that is 4.
Yeah. And the fact that Rishabh Pant is just 1 ton away from equaling the number of tons Sachin has in England. And
That's crazy.
not only is Rishabh Pant only 27, he also has 4 more test matches to go in the series.
Yeah, and he's not even played 50 Test matches yet. So
Yeah,
let
that's
all of
true.
that sink in.
Yeah, that's true.
That's on the batting bit. But when you look at the bowling, something very interesting was how Bumrah fared versus the rest of the fast bowlers in this entire game. Bumrah's got 2.23 degrees of swing versus the rest getting 1.57 degrees. This was a stat that came out around tea time.
Right.
So it could have changed since then, but this was the stat. And the other thing was looking at the lengths that the Indian bowlers were bowling, and you can see why it's made a difference because Bumrah was hitting a goodish length. Siraj was a tad bit too full, and that's also why he got hit for a fair few boundaries. And Prasidh Krishna was too short, which is interesting because in the later spells that he bowled, again, this is a stat as of only the first 20 overs. So yeah, in the later spells, you would see this changing with Prasidh Krishna trying to bowl. Actually, I don't think you would have seen too much change with Prasidh. He was
Yeah.
hitting the deck a lot more. But yeah,
That's
on the
the
stats.
quick wit in Brit. Let's go to the technical breakdowns. There are a few interesting stuff to
Yeah,
talk
so
about.
I think the first technical breakdown is very straightforward. We've just taken the snap from the broadcast itself. But it's basically how Bumrah has been able to set up a lot of batters. And this is very textbook test cricket if you look at it, right? So Bumrah has been, so all the blue deliveries that you'll see are the other deliveries, and the red one is eventually what got Zach Crawley. This was the very first over of the innings. And what you'll see is that Bumrah kept bowling it around that channel and kept taking the ball away, getting Zach Crawley to move away towards the off stump. And as a batter, what happens is when you know that the bowler is consistently bowling those out swingers or even balls that are seaming away, you have a tendency for your weight to go towards the off stump. Even though you know that the ball is going to come inside at some point, that's what you're being set up for. It is just natural tendency that you will sort of go and poke at the ball. And that's sort of what happened because Crawley, by the time this dismissal delivery came, was already sort of not fully committed forward, neither backward. He was caught at the crease. His weight wasn't with the line of the ball. And it didn't even nip back as such. It just straightened enough for Crawley to get an edge and then be caught brilliantly by Karun Nair. That was a good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's this is a very interesting bit, right? So the picture has really nothing to do with what has something. It's just a depiction of what I'm going to talk about. So I'll give you two scenarios. Imagine a right-handed bowler coming over the wicket to a right-hander. And then if you notice the slips as compared to a right-hand bowler coming over the wicket to a left-hander taking the ball away, when you see the way the slips are standing, you will realize that to a left-hander, the slips are much more wider, especially for someone like a Bumrah who's going to take the ball away, for example, will be a lot more wider. You'll see the keeper stand way outside off and not behind the stumps, except when you see Bumrah bowling to a Zach Rowley, for example, Rishabh Pant would almost probably stand behind the stumps or right outside the off stump. He should stand outside the off stump, but Pant has a habit of standing just behind the stumps. And the slip fielders will be close to the keeper, close to the batter because of the angle in which Bumrah keeps bowling. And on the contrary, if Bumrah is bowling to a left-hander, the keeper's away from the batter, the slip fielders are away from the batter, which means there's a lot more space in terms of from the keeper. There's a lot more distance in terms of the slips to the batter if the batter was 0 degrees. The degree at which the slips are standing, which will be close to 0, is what I want to say. If you can imagine a
Basically, a game of angles
yeah,
and how, I mean, slips would stand a certain way for lefties versus
was
righties.
righties. And it's just very interesting because not only this, not only do you have to take care of angles, you also have to take care of if the ball is carrying. And so, something if you guys didn't know, and this is very interesting, is the slip fielder or where the slip fielders are standing is totally dependent on where the wicket keeper is standing. So, the wicket keeper sets where the slip fielders are because the wicket keeper knows, or not knows what the comfortable position is in which the where the ball is going to carry to him, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is something just to keep in mind. Addressing your chits is where we address the chat.
Chat.
Finally, we have given them our advantage, Anirudh. Absolutely right.
Yeah. I don't think it should have been in this sort of position on day 2.
Siraj was bowling absolutely amazing in his last 2 spells. It's just he wasn't lucky enough, and that Bumrah no ball, absolute cinema. Yeah, I'm so tired of Siraj bowling in the last 2 spells.
Yeah,
Like I'm genuinely tired of that.
That's exactly the thing, right? Siraj at this point is no longer a junior bowler. He's been around for long enough. He's had impactful spells. We know what he brings to the table. And it just throws the entire innings off because when Siraj gets hit for 2 or maybe 3 fours, it's suddenly as if he's forgotten what to do. He's forgotten that he's a good fast bowler. And Bumrah is always going to get you wickets. But if you're going to be leaking runs on the other side, it doesn't matter because even if you look at Bumrah's averages in England, strike rates, they're around the 60 mark. I want to say it's around 58, which means Bumrah is getting a wicket maybe once every 10 overs or once every 8 overs. You can't have the other 8 overs
True.
against Bazball just getting belted because that just beats the point of Bumrah getting those wickets.
In captaincy, Gill for me has no proper senior helping him around. This is why Virat is missing currently. I don't think that's necessarily true because I didn't think there were big holes in Gill's captaincy as of yet. And he always has Rishabh Pant to rely on. He always has KL Rahul to rely on. And I saw someone saying that I think I don't know. Yes, Shrikant KL did nothing to help him around as much as I saw. But we don't see what goes on between the overs. We don't see what goes on between the drinks break. We don't I mean, Bumrah is there. Bumrah is captain. So, like, we don't really know the conversation in between. But until now, I haven't seen big holes in Gill's captaincy. If anything, again, like I said, it shouldn't have taken 39 overs for Shardul Thakur to be introduced. But that's a whole other conversation. I think batting was complacent. We could have got more runs, but we thought we had enough. That is true. I think, yeah.
100%. And I feel like it's always been the case when India have a good day,
Yeah.
the next day they come out slightly complacent. That's why it was very nice to see when India batted out that first hour brilliantly.
True.
But from there, how we threw it away, obviously the conditions did get a lot spicier, but that's where India could have been a lot more disciplined.
Yeah. You know, I disagree. So Akshay says, I don't know if fast bowling seems lost, man. Bumrah must be hurting both from bowling and burden. I don't agree with the fact that our bowling is lost because every time even Prasid and Siraj were bowling at the right channel, they were troubling the England
Yeah.
batters. There was a spell where Root couldn't touch Siraj.
Oh yeah, Siraj's first over, I think after tea and when they came back for the final
Yeah.
session, I think Siraj beat him like 5, 6,
Yeah.
4, 5 times in the over.
I
And
think it's just about being consistent, and they just aren't doing that. I don't know what is the obsession with that odd short ball that doesn't carry to the batter. Like, why do they? Why does Prasid Krishna especially have the need to do that? Right. Oh, we're back.
and also the other thing, I think I've forgotten my point. Oh yeah, to my point, to Ashwin's point rather. Talking about Gill's captaincy, I think some of the field settings he had in place for particular bowlers, especially because he's played with the Prasidh and a Siraj at Gujarat Titans, there is a rapport there. You can see that he
Yeah.
knows sort of what their strengths are, and he's set fields, I would say, pretty decently, but it's just been poor bowling execution. Where, for example, something I can think right off the top of my head is Prasidh Krishna, when he was bowling to Ben Duckett, had two fielders leg side deep. I want to say deep square and deep fine, but the fine was also sort of square,
Right. Backward square, maybe.
backward square, and
For
that's
45.
that's when you expect Prasidh to be able to ball somewhere around the ribcage, because you possibly put those
Not
fielders out.
45, but I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
put those fielders out so that if Duckett miscues a pull shot or something, that's how he's going to get out. Firstly, I think that's not the best mentality, because you don't want to be waiting for Duckett to play a shot
Especially
there.
in the first 20, first 25
Yeah,
overs.
within it was Prasid's first spell.
Yeah.
But the problem there is not even the field setting, is that Prasid was bowling full length half volleys outside off stump when the field is set for a bouncer. So, I mean, these are things that we could just see from the limited times that we would get to see the field on the broadcast.
Yeah.
So, the number of times that the bowler hasn't executed today was also the case with England yesterday, is definitely on display.
Terminator, not only is he so adamant for us to answer this question, I think it's a very interesting question also. Has this performance proved that Siraj cannot be a second string bowler in the bowling attack? The problem is, if the answer is yes, who is your second string bowler in the bowling attack? Because for the fast bowling pool that we keep talking about, we clearly don't have anyone ready as of yet. We had a Mohammad Shami who was supposed to be fit by the time the Border Gavaskar Trophy ended. 6 months later, is not even making it to England. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say yes, because I feel like Siraj has a lot more potential. I feel like it's easy to throw off a bowler. Like when we see batters not getting runs, KL Rahul, for example, for
Yeah,
first half of his career, we
win
keep
him a
talking
lot of.
about potential. I think Siraj has that potential. It's just nurturing him. I don't know how much more, but nurturing him enough to make him understand that he's good enough to be there, and that he's good enough to stick to that one line and length. And for whatever reason, he's not doing that. But we'll never know. Things might just switch.
Yeah, I also feel like we could have. I mean, because it's just the first day that the Indian bowlers are bowling. Maybe they will adapt when.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, they'll adapt as the series
Yeah.
progresses. Maybe we are being a bit too harsh, but I think with Siraj, it's justified,
Yeah.
because even in the BGT,
Or even in the New Zealand series, or
yeah,
even against Bangladesh, or even, yeah.
he just seems to get thrown off very quickly. He seems to lose confidence very fast.
But also, here's the thing, right? We are criticizing them quite a bit. And I know this could almost be the narrative. We are not asking for change. So a lot of you guys are, of course, rightly so, are talking about, what about Anshul Kamboj? What about Arshdeep Singh? What about Akash Deep? Yes, they are options. But you don't want to switch right after the first test match. And even if, let's just say, in the worst case scenario, we go on to lose for whatever reason, I don't think a switch is necessary. I think these guys need game time. Prasid Krishna can bowl well. We saw that in short bursts. Siraj, we have seen him bowl well. Sure, you have people sitting, but this is a test series. They'll come into play if these guys continue to perform badly, but I don't think you need to keep switching and changing players just because they've had a bad game. Let's just put it that way. कहाँ मैं बैटिंग को देख के वाइट वॉश के सपने देख रहा था बढ़िया.
Never draw conclusions from the first day on a good batting pitch.
Right, Shrikant, do people forget how Siraj carry out bowling lineup when Bumrah and Shami both were injured? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Shrikant, what a good point.
and that's exactly why we're disappointed with this Siraj, because he's shown that he can do it.
Yeah.
He's shown it multiple times. He's shown it across formats. It's just that he's not consistent with it.
Yeah. Rishikesh. The problem is lack of attacking options other than Bumrah. Maybe Kuldeep.
Honestly, that's a good shout.
Except who's he going to
I mean,
replace?
you're going to have to sacrifice one batter.
Yeah. I think someone
basically.
made a point here of how Shubman is using Shardul as a batting all-rounder.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, then you might as well play NKR.
NKR, yeah. Yeah.
Quite interesting. Luffy, you would be underconfident too if your barber messed up your haircut that bad. Oh, they're talking about Siraj. For a second, I thought you were talking about us. Fair. Boys, the paces you talk about, Siraj is one thing better than the others. He's a workhorse who's not injury prone. That's why Siraj is also important red ball. Absolutely right, dude.
100%.
Shrikant, your takes today are not shit. I'll tell you that much. You're right. I mean, Siraj has bowled 400 overs since 2020.
600 overs, 640 something overs since 20.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's the most by an Indian bowler.
But when we made the video, it's more than 400. Like Jadeja and Ashwin has bowled way more overs, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think
I don't think he's bowled 600 overs.
either it's 600 or 460.
Yeah, it's more than
But yeah,
400 because Jadeja and Ashwin bowled 600 overs.
yeah,
But since 2020,
3.
I think. But yeah, Siraj has bowled most number of overs. That's the point. And he can, and he hasn't gotten injured, which is quite interesting. He's never, I don't think he's been, yeah, dropped for injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, Siraj wants that. Siraj wasn't that bad today, guys. The first spell he took time finding his length. The later spells he was breathing fire. I've been harsh on him in the past, but he was better today. I disagree with you. I think Siraj is a way better bowler than to talk about how he wasn't good in the first spell. Like
Yeah.
you can't see. Like that's the point. We were talking about this before. Like we expected a lot of people to back Siraj because right, he was great in his second and third spell. But it's been a while since we have talked about how Siraj was great in his first spell. And if you're an attacking bowler, and if you're the second bowler of
Yeah.
the team,
You're taking the new ball.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it in context, ever since we've been doing lives in the BGT, I don't remember one time where we've said Siraj started off well.
yeah,
We've always said Siraj had a good second spell. Siraj had a good spell after lunch. Siraj had a good spell then. So yeah, that's basically the issue because I'll just give you some perspective. Every time, just jog back your memory. Every time Siraj has had a good first spell, 6 for in Cape Town, got
True.
6 wickets against Sri Lanka. Did that in the World Cup as well against Sri Lanka once again on pitches that weren't offering as much as what we're getting to see in England, and that should be example enough for what Siraj can do if he gets it on the money.
right. I don't know how else to give. I mean, that's a great perspective. I was just thinking in terms of batters, but like if an opener keeps getting out, then you're going to say he's not doing well. So I don't know. Even England bowlers struggled yesterday. Siraj will also fare tomorrow in the second innings. Yeah, true. I mean, I'm hoping for Siraj to do well. Like we back him. We have never talked about him getting dropped. We possibly may have during
I
the
mean,
Border Trophy to
in-
him for him to get rest.
In all fairness, like despite all of us, I mean, despite both of us being this critical and like being harsh, it doesn't mean that we don't like the player or anything.
Yeah.
It's mostly coming from a place of just the passion for them, for us wanting them to do well.
This match honestly feels like it's going towards a draw. The pitch looks way too flat considering the amount of swing we see even in the later overs of the innings. I feel like if the forecast is right and if the showers are going to come even tomorrow and if it's going to be cloudy and if the pitch is going to get spicy and then you might never know. Pitch is favorable to batting tomorrow. Yeah, true. Siraj has been really good according to me. He has been excellent considering how placid the surface has been. Fair enough. I mean, we can go on about him.
Yeah, it just
But-
feels. I mean, if you all are joining in late, then just rewind the stream a bit. We've just made cases for why we think Siraj was not that good today.
Yeah.
He was really good in the second and third spells, no doubt about it. But the first spell is where the issue is. That's where we have an issue with him.
It's like, okay, right. To give you a little perspective with batters, and this is a very big perspective, but like in a 5 test match series, if your opener is only scoring in the fourth and fifth test match, even if he gets 100 in the fourth and fifth test match, that's not good enough because you haven't really performed in the first three, and the series is almost decided by then.
Yeah.
So if you're only every time, Rahane had that thing going on for him for a while. Every end of the series he would perform, and then people would talk about, of course, now this performance will make sure he's there in the next squad. It's almost like that. If you're a top order batter, you got to start performing from the beginning or at least the second or third match because that's where the series is on the line. It's the same thing with Siraj. As a bowler, you have to click on, especially if you're in the top two bowlers of the team. You have to click on with the new ball.
Especially when Bumrah is only going to play 3 test matches. Siraj is going to be the main bowler in at least 1 test match or at least
Yeah.
2 test matches.
Siraj must not take the new ball. He should be the third bowler. Let's be honest, he did well as a third bowler in 2021. Absolutely agreed. Bumrah and Arshdeep must start with the. Oh, you're debuting
think-
Arshdeep.
That's a good question.
Srikanth, who do you think? You just. Okay, that's fine. Who do you think will. Who do you think will the
What do you
current
think?
management will focus to build a quality paced attack, which Rohit and Dravid failed to do? Can Gill do a Virat on building a quality paced attack for the future?
I feel like
For Sena, right? For Sena.
see, I think the current pack that we have has the skill, has the potential, but can Gill do a Virat? Time will tell. It's on what Gill wants.
There's my charger.
I don't know what Gill wants with this attack, which way he wants this team to go. Because with Virat, it was very clear that even as a captain, he preferred using pacers.
Yeah,
If that is how Gill functions, then you will see this pace attack get better because there will be communication that, hey, I'm going to be making you guys do the bulk of the bowling, and this is how we're going to dominate Sena.
true.
That is the game plan. If that's the blueprint for the next how many ever years, then we'll see it. But even beyond just that, it has to be from the grassroots. It has to be from the likes of an Anshul Kamboj getting picked and not being sent back to India, just having him there even as a net bowler.
Yeah.
These things will matter in the long run.
Also, I don't know if I completely agree with Rahul and Rohit failing to bring up a pace attack because they had no reason to. I mean, they don't have to do any favors for the next captain. The fact that under Virat you had these fast bowlers and Rohit could just use them,
True.
yeah, it's fine. Like you don't really have to.
Yeah, like I don't think every generation had the need to prepare,
Yeah,
especially because Rohit Dravid was not as long as Kohli's
Shastri,
regime,
yeah.
Kohli Shastri, and
People forget about
age groups as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
Virat Kumble also. There was a Virat Kumble in the middle. Anirudh, I can't understand short ball ploys and down the leg balls in the test match cricket except the one surprise bouncer from Bumrah such was needed. Why are we bowling bad lines and lengths? Why are we bowling? I don't know. But yeah, I didn't understand the odd short balls that again Prasid and Siraj were bowling now and again, especially when they weren't getting that bounce. And like honestly, Prasid's short balls, it can be good if you're consistent, but he's not shown consistency in any
Yeah.
line and
Yeah.
lengths. And so like that bouncer where he bowled to Ollie Pope, where he tried to uppercut it, and then Prasid Krishna gave him some slack. And then the next ball, he,
Six.
yeah, I'm like, dude,
At least back your stuff.
has Joe Root's wicket given us an upper hand?
I won't say upper hand, but it has definitely helped the
True.
cause for India.
It was a very scratchy innings from
It
Root.
was a very scratchy innings. I feel like Joro should have been out a lot earlier. I feel like Siraj in that first over after tea could have potentially got Joro. Just kept beating the bat. India will be very happy that Joe Root is back in the hut, but India will also be disappointed that England aren't 5 down right.
Yeah. Arvind, we don't necessarily think Arshdeep should debut because there's Akashdeep, and we feel like he's played for the Indian team. He's been consistent. He bowled extremely well in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, even though he didn't get a lot of wickets. So that's why we back Arshdeep. Sure,
Akashdeep.
Akashdeep. Sure, Arshdeep can swing the ball, but Akashdeep is a lot more consistent. And at this point, this is only the first time the Indian bowlers are bowling. If the inconsistency continues, let's say after the second test match, you would then have to look at someone who's consistent, especially when you know Bumrah is not going to play the entire series.
And I'll also give you another point for why Arshdeep should not be looked at yet is because he's also someone who can be expensive. And especially when if you're not getting wickets and the only way you're going to get wickets is by building pressure by not giving away boundaries. And if that time you have Arshdeep going through an expensive spell, it just makes it a lot tougher for the rest of the bowlers as well. Just as a combination, Arshdeep might not fit into the current scheme of things.
Yeah. Krishna Kumar, that's a very solid question. Do you think the match is balanced right now? I
Uh,
would, yeah.
yeah, I think it's balanced. England will be happy
Yeah.
because they should have honestly been 5 down, is what I think,
True.
at least.
At least 4 down. I mean,
Yeah.
the last
Yeah,
wicket,
the
last
last
over wicket.
wicket. Yeah.
In England conditions, you need more swing bowlers than someone who hits the deck hard. Honestly, that's not necessarily true anymore. In England now, you need bowlers who can seam the ball rather than swing
Wobbly.
the ball because in
Yeah.
the last couple of years, seam has taken more wickets than swing. But yeah, a swing would always almost help.
They've
And
also
Akashdeep doesn't hit the deck. Prasid does.
Russell hits the deck.
But the highest wicket taker for the Indian team in England is Ashant Sharma, so that says something.
Or something. Ishant also got a lot of his wickets either with the short ball ploy or by bowling extremely. Done a very nice video on this.
But that's also because not that's also because, but he's the highest wicket taker also because he's
played
played
a
the most
lot.
matches
Yeah, true.
as a bowler. For what score should India get England all out as fast as possible? Plus, Prasid can breach 140 plus mark more often. Yeah, that's true.
To be honest, everyone was breaching 140 plus.
Yeah, that's true.
Siraj, Bumrah, Prasid.
Yeah. Arvind, yeah, you're right. Disheartening to see the scorecard 3 down and all three going to Bumrah. Give that guy some support. The economy part on Harshdeep is really good point. I didn't consider that aspect. There you go. That's why Praatib's Praatib. Expecting a similar batting collapse on England side tomorrow.
It's going to depend on the conditions,
I mean, they
honestly.
have batters left, dude. They have Harry Brook, Ollie Pope batting, Ben Stokes, Jamie Smith, Chris
Yeah.
Wokes, who can bat.
And Jamie Smith was only picked definitely not for his wicket keeping. We want to touch
That's
upon that.
fine.
But yeah, he was picked
Yeah.
ahead of Ben Foakes, who's definitely the best keeper in England right now, just solely for his batting abilities.
Yeah. What should we right? Oh yeah, we can't. We won't talk about what should be India's plan tomorrow because we have a pre-match. So if we talk about this now, we will have nothing to talk about
You guys won't
pre-match.
join us tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. The bowling card is giving me the BGT feels, of course. What do you think? Yeah, right. Let's talk about this. What do you think about Jadeja's spell? Expand on it.
Cool. So, couple of observations right off the bat has been the case since Bodagaoskar Trophy 2024-25. Jaddu is bowling well, but after the second or third over, when he starts off, he's starting off with a couple of loose deliveries that are absolute half trackers, and he's getting belted, and that's just ruining the kind of rhythm or the time he takes to get into any sort of good rhythm. So that's a general observation on Jaddu since the past sort of year, not even a year, just the last couple of series.
This is a New Zealand series.
New Zealand series as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and today, yeah, again, like he settled into his spell decently, and Ben Duckett was trying to reverse sweep the hell out of Jaddu, but he kept missing. Finally got one great. But I think Ashwin spoken about the negative line ploy. That was an interesting bit. But apart from that, it's just that Jaddu starting off his spell. I don't know what it suddenly become with
Yeah.
Indians and starting off their spell in a certain way.
And he is the number one all rounder for the longest time. So like
Yeah.
and especially Jadeja. Like he's known for consistency, if anything. We'll take a couple more questions and then end this. Shouldn't India be looking beyond Shardul now? Ash, Akash, and Kuldeep are better options. Even Rana. He was good in 21, but his prime is over and his pace is down. Right. So Shardul, couple of things. He's looked at as an all-rounder. He was the second highest wicket taker for the Mumbai squad in Ranji Trophy. He was the second highest run scorer. So scored a lot of runs. Not just scored a lot of runs. If you guys hadn't
Yeah.
followed Ranji cricket, he saved Mumbai in the semi-finals,
Multiple matches.
in the quarterfinals. So Shardul has been clutch in terms of batting. His bowling too. I mean, he's got on wickets, but
Yeah, Shardul at the international level has always been a
uh,
dibbly dabbly bowler,
yeah.
but he somehow just finds a way to get a wicket. His record in England is okay. The 4 matches that he played prior, he's got 10 wickets.
Which is also why it was surprising that it took 39 overs for him to be.
Yeah, that's true. But here's the thing, right? Like, because you need that batting cushion is why you're playing Shardul, because NKR cannot ball as well as Shardul,
Yeah,
despite how average Shardul has been.
yeah, true. Duckett trying to reverse sweep for the 10th time and failing was so funny. Yeah, people talking about Thakur out of form needs to follow domestic. Oh yeah, that's true. No point in bringing him up at 34th over if you're playing him. Oh, 34th. I thought he was introduced on 39th. But anyway, give him the semi-new ball after ball at least. Jaddu preferred before him at 17th, 18th over mark. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Jadeja being introduced, I was okay with. I just think Shardul is a better bowler.
Or even if you didn't want to use him for a long spell, you could have got him just before tea, just to break the flow of things,
Uh,
just to get a change of ends. That should have been the trick.
damn. All right. See, Jadeja's had a bad couple of series, but he's not done yet. For Aksar to be better than Jadeja, I mean, Aksar's a good bowler, but
Yeah.
Jadeja is still Ravindra Jadeja, dude. He has for 300 test wickets
Yeah.
and
3,000 plus
yeah, 3,000 plus test runs. He scored 100 in
last time.
correct. He also scored 100 against New Zealand, no, against Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
But and he's got on wickets. He'll come good. We don't have to replace everyone that's almost old. Boys, Siraj was bowling decent, but Summer was not getting wickets. What does Boom do differently? Just more consistent and just everything. Brains, seam movement. He was getting a lot more swing than on average than any other fast bowler in this test match.
Yeah, that's Bumrah's biggest strength.
Pace.
Pace. But to be fair,
I
Siraj
mean,
is also bowling
yeah,
fine
fair.
today. No, but I mean that's one thing to see it on the speed gun versus how it hits your bat.
Yeah,
Because with Bumrah, the release
true,
point
true.
comes into the picture as well. Ashwin's done a whole video on Bumrah and why he's more lethal. It's got a lot to do with release points and stuff. So check that out.
Would Ashwin have been better than Jadeja on this pitch? We would not know because Ashwin's not playing. That's why he shined last too. I have no idea who you're talking about. But we'll do this for a minute or two and then end this. 97 people. Thank you guys for joining us.
Guys, can you get it to 100?
It's
Can we get it
12:45.
to at least 60 likes?
How do you know how many likes there are?
I mean, we'll know here.
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
Other you're looking through
Yeah,
the
it's
screen.
31 likes. That's not even half of the population present here. Please drop some likes.
Population. NKR in IPL shows signs to get wickets in critical moments, but he needs to show that in red. True.
Correct.
Boys. Alright, so Shrikant says, boys, they didn't future proof, which Virat has started to do before he got sacked, before like Bumrah, Siraj, and Shami. So captains have to think for future for us to be successful. That's why Rohit Dravid. I don't think Virat intentionally future proofed. I think Virat just brought a pool of fast bowlers because there were a lot of injuries also going around at that time. Ishant getting injured in 2016 or 17, I want to say. Shami got injured. Bumrah wasn't injured then, but Umesh Yadav got injured. So people forget that there were a lot of injuries. That's why these fast bowlers were introduced to begin with.
Yeah.
Rohit was blessed to have fast bowlers in his array without a lot of injuries. Shami did get injured here and there. Bumrah too. But then you always had backup because these guys were used because in the era where Virat captain, there were a lot of injuries. So you don't really have to future proof. It almost happens automatically, except in the era that Rohit captain, not a lot of fast bowlers were injured. And even if they were injured, you always had replacements on offer.
Yeah, true. Plus, the other thing is just the average age group of the team. Because
Yeah.
when Kohli was with the
Yeah,
team,
true.
they were a lot younger as an average age group. Yeah.
I would love to know how did you guys collaborate with Jared, if you don't mind sharing. I love both of your channels. We just hit him up. It's just that, yeah. I mean, one of his team members told us that they watch our stuff and
Yeah.
they
That's how we got in touch.
enjoy it, like it, and so yeah. Shardul had a great run this season, but he averaged 70 with the ball and 20 with the bat in the India A tour, right?
Oh.
Not promising enough to make the side. I feel India is a better test than Ranji. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely
100%.
right.
And that probably also answers why Ishwaran isn't featuring in the lineup because he struggled on India A2 sub.
All the time.
Yeah, because we get a lot of comments. So,
Yeah. By the way, Gill technique of leaving the ball is so treat to watch. Absolutely.
dude, we've come a long way because Gill has gone out so many times leaving the ball. Off stump awareness is very important.
Yeah. There was an uncapped player in CSK who's eligible to play for India.
Dhoni.
Oh. If that's the joke, this is where we end things. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a post match of day 2. A lot's happened, a lot of disappointments to say the least. But here we are. Hopefully, Siraj starts off great tomorrow with Bumrah because I'm hoping they start off. But we
Yeah.
will talk about what India needs to do pre-match, which is at 2:45 tomorrow.
Be short and sweet.
Yeah, we will get through stuff like stats and everything that we usually do. Kind of phased by the non-diplomaticness of Jared. I really disliked his hot take artness sometimes. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, let's talk about the Jared thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Not only were we very, very nervous.
We were so nervous.
Yeah, and we were also not prepared for how it was gonna go.
Like we were not sure what the format was going to be like.
Yeah.
We didn't know that he's going to put the entire thing out on his
Yeah,
YouTube
so-
channel.
Yeah.
We didn't even find out till someone messaged us on Twitter saying,
that-
"Hey, nice episode."
I mean,
we
it was
were
great. Like, no shade. Like, we
Yeah.
loved talking to him. It was
a lot
great.
of fun, but it was more nerve wracking. Like we've
Yeah.
interviewed cricketers, but this was
Yeah, that's
nerve
true.
wracking.
But that's something we learned from.
Yeah,
Something we are learning from, how we shouldn't be overhauled by the occasion or the person we're talking to.
and
'cause-
hold our ground.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a comment on that video. But yeah, that's what happened with Jared. If we get to speak to him next time, which hopefully should be fine, we should be able to speak to him again. We will do a much better job in terms of conversation and engage more, like someone left the comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. We will be putting. Tomorrow's Sunday, so putting out nothing. So we will join you guys at 2:30 tomorrow for the pre-match. Talk more about what the Indian bowlers need to do. And yeah, it'll be more of the same. Like always, thank you guys for supporting us. It's always nice to see you guys turn up at odd hours. So yeah, thank you guys. Good night, wherever you are. Vasu, I want to say good morning, I think, or good afternoon. I don't know where you are. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.